Well, Squad has done it. We haven't had a single patch to the game in months. The Unreal Engine 5 update has been pushed back, and it just seems like everyone in the community is sitting around waiting for something to happen. Well, that something just happened, and I seriously can't even believe what I'm reading here. Competitive Squad players have been caught coding cheats into the files of tournament mods. Yeah, modders and some who were actually commissioned to make competitive mods for Squad tournaments, including the official Squad Arena tournament that was just hosted by Offworld Industries, have been caught building actual cheating scripts within the modded files themselves that only they could access. On Wednesday, the community manager Siege made this announcement on the Squad official Discord, stating, "Today we have issued the final bans on 7 members of the community that were involved in creating and using a cheat menu that was found to be built into multiple mods for Squad. These mods have been used for months within multiple community-organized competitive events, as well as the most recent off-world-run Squad Arena tournament. The people who created the cheat menu were competitive team members who had played on multiple teams over the years. They have made numerous mods for map layers, custom competitive tools like admin cams, and more. Both of these players' modders have been found to be the creators of these invasive mods, which have now ruined the competitive spirit of all these events in retrospect." So apparently, a modding group who published mods under the name of Redbox made these cheats to help their competitive team, Old Continentals, in various Squad tournaments this year. And unsurprisingly, in both of these tournaments that they competed in, Old Continentals won. Now, we only have evidence of this happening recently, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if these guys have been doing stuff like this for years, as they were prominent in the Squad modding and competitive community as well. But let's just first explain what these guys did to cheat, because it's actually kind of impressive. All right, so I've opened up the Squad SDK, and when you go into Mod Squad, you have the option to create a custom player controller. And this player controller holds like all the instructions for what your character can do in game, some of the keybinds, Windows AC, map options. It's all programmed here through blueprints and functions. And if we take this one, for example, we can actually see how the emote wheel works. When you press this emote wheel keybind, it does a bunch of checks here to see which emote your character has available on the wheel. And then when you release the keybind, it will check if it can actually play this emote, and then it will play it. This is relatively straightforward, although this may look intimidating if you've never seen Unreal Engine before. So these competitive Squad modders created a custom player controller for all of their mods, and then created special functions that unlocked all sorts of exploits. So instead of just having an emote wheel function here, they also had something like enable enemy ticket bleed. But unlike all these other functions which just let anyone use them, these functions were actually restricted by hard-coding player IDs in the mod itself. The cheaters created a variable called admin and then wrote their epic IDs into the code, meaning that only 7 players would have access to these keybinds. They essentially created a cheating whitelist. With this script, if one of these whitelisted players pressed Alt-L, the enemy team's tickets would start to bleed out. The enemy team would literally lose 1 ticket every 30 seconds, the moment this keybind was pressed, and if it became too noticeable, the player could then turn it off by pressing Alt-K. This meant that in chaotic moments where a lot of tickets were already being lost, one of these guys could simply turn it on for a few minutes, flip it back off, and slowly chip away at the tickets. If you timed this perfectly, you could repeat this throughout the match, and nobody would be the wiser. Another pretty genius way of how this was coded was that since the script would check its database first to see if the player using this keybind was whitelisted, nothing would happen and there would be no visible error message to the end user if the player pressing this keybind wasn't approved to use it. That means you and me could have downloaded this mod, we could have competed in these tournaments, accidentally pressed Alt-L, and nothing would have happened. In the attached report on this cheating investigation, you can follow this flowchart which shows the actual coded scripts that verified these IDs to run or not to run the cheats depending on who is pressing the keybinds. It's absolutely insane to me that these guys went to this level of detail to cheat in Squad, but hey man, how could they tell their wife's boyfriends that they lost a game of Squad? That's just not acceptable, right? Well, this cheat has probably been going on for a very long time, since the creators of this mod and these scripts have been in the community for years making mods. But the only reason this was even found out now was because of Squad's recent scoreboard and end of match recap update. So when the cheaters would initiate the command to start the ticket bleed, the game still has to label these lost tickets as something, and that something is infantry losses. At the end of every game, you have details which specify who lost what and what those tickets added up to. Like 1 Logi is 5 tickets, 2 radios is 40 tickets, 100 infantry deaths is 100 tickets, and so on. But as teams began to play the cheating team, they realized that these tickets didn't seem to be adding up. Specifically, the infantry losses were not adding up to the scoreboard deaths, and this is where they got caught. So in the announcement, Siege mentioned Squad Arena, but in addition to Squad Arena, since that was just a 16-on-16 infantry only knockout and it wasn't your typical squad, so it's actually very hard to track tickets, there was a larger tournament called the Squad Esports Tournament, or SET. Unlike Squad Arena, SET was your typical squad match. You had 2 teams of 40 players across large maps with infantry, vehicles, command assets. It's just squad, but competitive. And after 6 weeks of competition, the final was held between EnR, or EnR, and Old Continentals. Old Continentals ended up winning, but EnR filed a complaint. The tickets weren't adding up. In this match between EnR and Old Continentals, the end of round screen shows that EnR had 286 lost tickets due to infantry deaths, meaning that you would expect to see 286 deaths on the scoreboard, but the scoreboard only shows 239. Throughout the match, Old Continentals had been using this ticket bleed exploit periodically to shave additional tickets off, and since they only won by 73 tickets, the 50 or so tickets they did lose due to the exploit would have almost certainly changed EnR's strategy and the dynamics of their firefights. Another round against Old Continental shows an even worse discrepancy with 253 ticket losses for infantry deaths, but only 192 deaths on the scoreboard. That's over 60 tickets missing, and Old Continentals once again won this round, 77 tickets to 0. I will say I'm honestly impressed with how EnR even managed to find this exploit. Apparently, they created their own logging system a while ago to help them optimize their competitive team, and they had these logging scripts that would track their ticket losses from radios, infantries, vehicles, and whatever else happened in game, and it had been working normally for every game they played in so they could go back and analyze it. But the moment they started playing against Old Continentals in the finals of this tournament, they noticed that these numbers weren't adding up to the data that they had. They then went back to the screenshots and found out that it wasn't their logging script that was wrong. The numbers were literally not adding up. So EnR filed an official complaint to the tournament, and the staff announced that they had not officially called a winner since there was an investigation going on this ticket discrepancy. The tournament staff agreed that these ticket losses were more than just bugs and expanded their original investigation from just the SET tournament, where this all started from, to include 4 other tournaments that they competed in earlier this year. Props to the staff over at SET because they ended up reviewing over 200 rounds of squad, and it was found there was also unexplained ticket bleeds in at least one other tournament, another large-scale 40-on-40 tournament called the International Masters that Old Continentals happened to be in. Now, although the staff knew that there was some type of ticket exploit that was benefiting Old Continentals, at this point they still had no idea how this worked. This is when Old Continentals themselves ended up investigating their own team, only to discover that their own modders were responsible. This is where the report comes from. Old Continentals actually created this in good faith because they didn't want to be related to cheaters. The team's own leadership looked into the modded files and found not just ticket bleed exploits, but so much more. Cheaters could turn off and on ticket counts to make sure they were winning. They could refill their own ammunition, like endless ammo bags and squad leader rallies. 2 players had access to admin cam, where they could literally fly around the map and see anything and everything. And there were even ways to make the outlines of players glow to make them easier to see, as well as adding a kill feed to confirm if they killed an enemy player. And apparently there was also some sort of damage modifier which could potentially make it easier to one-shot players. Oh, and that's not it. There was also a way to even turn on 3D meshes for buildings, making them see-through. This wasn't just cheating, this is like advanced cheating. And this didn't just affect the large-scale 40-on-40 tournaments, but it also affected the official Off-World Industries Squad Arena tournament, which was this smaller 16-on-16 infantry battle. So they probably didn't do the ticket bleed exploit, but maybe these glows and see-through building and all this other type of stuff to make it easier to kill players. Old Continentals won this tournament, and it comes to no surprise that the same team that built the set tournament mod also built Squad Arena. Now, honestly, I do find it ironic that one of the most annoying games to mod has now one of the most sophisticated cheating scandals I've ever seen because of modding. It's poetic, really. Now, after this whole thing came to light, Siege announced that the players responsible were banned from Squad, like actual game bans, and moving forward, all tournament mods will be open source in order to prevent things like this happening in the future. He also stated in the official announcement that Squad Arena was supposed to be a paid mod, however, they had not set up the final processing of this, so no money was exchanged. And real quick, I gotta jump in here, okay? This entire cheating scandal is obviously horrible. It's also just straight stupid, but I've gotta say, for any creator out there, artists, modders, programmers, whatever you are, don't agree to work on something with a game studio without a contract. Don't agree to a project, finish it, send it to your client, and after all that is done, then start to negotiate payment. Don't get me wrong here, these modders suck, and they should be banned for what they did, but OWI's own request for this mod was back in January, and it said it would be paid. If it was originally requested in January, and the tournament started in June, and then it finished almost 4 weeks ago, how is this payment still processing? All right, if I'm going to call out cheaters for cheating, I've also got to call out big companies for taking advantage of creators who just want to be part of their favorite games, okay? Don't be taken advantage of, guys. Game studios should pay you for your work if they say they're going to pay you. Agree to the payment up front, get a contract. These guys are backed by Tencent, okay? They can toss you a couple $100 for the contract work. Anyway, back to the cheating. Big shout out to Rycave over at Squad Esports, EnR for their data collection, and Old Continentals for investigating themselves. This is probably the largest cheating scandal I've seen in years, even outside of Squad, and I would have never guessed it had come to this, actual modding cheats into the game. I've linked all these reports and documents down below if you do want to read it for yourself, especially if you're interested in the backend scripting side of things, since unfortunately, you can't see these mods anymore. They've been removed from the Steam Workshop, so this is all we have left. But that's it for me. Cheating in video games, especially Squad, never gets old. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, peace.